Now, if I don't understand it, I just think it's stupid. And to a certain extent, Nietzsche is unbelievably articulate and clever. But you're right. If you don't necessarily understand it, it doesn't mean that he's right.
But okay. I mean, look. Just for people who don't know who Nietzsche is, I mean, he was Friedrich Nietzsche, wasn't it? He was
German philosopher. That's right. But the thing is, he talks about the death of God. Who went crazy, by the way. He went psychotic, so he had quite a short career. Yeah, but didn't he have some
sort of disease or something or other?
People wondered whether it was tertiary syphilis.
Okay, but the problem is, he talks about the death of God. So what, was he an atheist?
What he talked about was it was an intellectual death of God. So with industrialisation, what he said was people there became increasingly self-determinant and therefore had no more need intellectually for God.
But because he talks about capitalism will actually bring down the government.
Well, without God, with industrialisation and intellectual murder of God, therefore there's no structure around humanity, which means there'll be chaos, and therefore part of that will be mass murder, which is exactly what happened. And going back to what I said about animals, choosing where you need to have where they choose leaders who are liked by the populace, that only works in small tribes. And one of the geniuses of religion is it's combined all the little tribes underneath ideologies, and you can't really attack ideologies, and you still can't today. You can't attack ideologies with bombs, and everything becomes fantasy and in your imagination. So you have the fantasy rewards, which you get in the next life, so you don't have the pressure of instant gratification. You get the fantasy fear of something bad happening, and that is infinitely more powerful than anything in reality. And religion, if you look at the rise of the human civilization, it almost parallels the rise of religion. But the irony, of course, is that capitalism deconstructs everything. It disintegrates everything, including religion. It does not.
Actually, it encourages growth.
Not materialism. Growth, yes, but it will disintegrate.
There's a reason why the capitalist countries are still here, and there's a better quality of life. Oh, well, you say for how long? But the thing is, why does everyone want to come to these countries? Why does everyone want to go to the States? Why does everyone want to come to the UK?
Instant gratification, the dopamine hit.
Of course, it's instant gratification, because the thing is, they want. So the thing is,
people get more.
Hold on a second. They had their so people had their culture, their ethics in other countries. All right, things didn't work out for them, so they're compromising that.
It's not the fact they don't work out. They like dopamine, and remember, dopamine is addictive, so of course people like it. But remember,
but then when they come here, they complain about it.
The more dopamine you seek, the more pleasure you seek, the less happy you get, because ultimately what we need is peace of mind. But peace of mind isn't marketable. Pleasure is marketable. That's what makes people money.
Well, hope is marketable. But
hope is an abstract concept, so therefore it's difficult to market. And what you need,
what do you mean? What did you say? Hope is difficult to market.
Hope is difficult to market unless
I will challenge you on that one, because the whole personal development industry, which sells you these huge expensive courses just based on hope and no outcome, is hope being a very valuable commodity out there. I mean, I saw a guy yesterday, someone whose name you know, and I won't bring it up, but his advert came up on YouTube yesterday on how to become a trader.
Actually, you're right. Yeah. I take that back. I agree with you.
All right.
Yes.
Here, become a trader. You can earn X amount of money. We'll show you what to do. And the thing is, about 90% of these people actually hand their credit card over. They go on these courses, and within a few weeks, they're still paying off their credit card bill for the next couple of years, and they've got nothing to show for it.
Beautifully put. I was wrong. You're right. It's fantasy, and there's nothing more powerful than fantasy, because you idealize. So it's why long distance relations don't work, because they're fantasy and nothing to do with reality.
That's right. So oh god, you threw me there.
by agreeing with you.
You threw me there. I'm looking for the confrontation. But it's interesting because one thing I did look at, because I did look at, I was looking to go in the past, because when we talk about capitalism and socialism, I mean, capitalism is all about, in some ways, you stand on your own 2 feet. You work
materialism
hard.
Destroys everything. It's
that's a dirty side of it. And I'm saying there's no system that's perfect.
As it spreads, people get more unhappy because it destroys structure. So where for instance, because I'm Greek, and I remember Greece 40 years ago, much more harmonious, prosperous, proud place. And then I've watched it slowly disintegrate with materialism and capitalism and political correctness and vested interest, and it is a disaster.
But when you become a socialist of a welfare state, I mean, come on, that's probably even worse.
Mm-hmm. And the Prime Minister, Papandreou, who I met several times actually, what a hypocrite! His country was collapsing, and he was staying in the presidential suite at one of the 5-star hotels.
Yeah, well, do you know something? Voltaire said, "I'm a moral man, yet I have no morals." So, but the thing is, I looked at the tribes, actually. I looked at, because the thing is, I looked at communities and things like this of the past, and a lot of these tribes, one thing is, if you didn't contribute to and having a fair work ethic within that tribe, it wouldn't be long before you got ostracized. And in small tribes, which is ultimately what needs to happen, rather than have this global world that we actually want to live in, these small tribes, you would easily get exposed if you weren't pulling your weight. This is where socialism goes wrong, because they want to do things on a global scale, have all these open borders, have everyone going in between. But the thing is, all these people who aren't pulling their weight are just hiding. You can't see them, you can't find them, they're not being exposed. They're just collecting their welfare check as it comes through the post or whatever it is. I don't know.
But you see, you're right. Animals and humans are designed to cooperate. So, for instance, as you and I are looking at each other now into our eyes, we're releasing oxytocin, and that's the socializing, bonding hormone. It makes us want to cooperate. It raises our mood. It lowers our blood pressure. It's good for us. If you go and ask someone for help, they are more than likely going to help you, and you feel good, they feel good. We are designed to do that, and therefore it's teamwork. Yes, everyone is designed to pull their weight, and they feel good about it.
And the thing is, people expect someone else to actually, if someone works an 80-hour week, they're earning more money and they get taxed more, and they're actually feeding someone who decides that he wants to stay home in front of his 43-inch TV and watch the football because the World Cup is on, who's not doing anything, and his wife decides to put out 5 kids. I've got to say, they've got every right to be aggrieved by that. So, and the thing is, because you can't see it, and that's what happens when you actually just have open borders and all this sort of thing, when you can actually control, and in fact, actually, if you went back to smaller control, then it possibly may work, and everyone contributes to that. But it can only work on a small scale.
Do you have any idea how much money the government has? Even VAT. How much is VAT? 20%?
20%, yes.
Okay. 20% of everything that you spend goes straight to the government. And that's just that. Then you have cigarettes, petrol,
but you know how much we're actually
income tax,
you know how much we're
national
spending
insurance
on interest on the money we owe. I mean, if America owed $20 trillion, I've got to say, dread to think how much they're having to spend to actually cover that. We're having to do the same, and all we do is just borrow more money and borrow more money and borrow more money. It doesn't work like that, because there's no bottom bit, and there's got to be a certain amount of logic that you've got to apply. Now, look, I'm not naive enough to not be compassionate about certain people who can't look after themselves, but the amount of people who look after themselves and the amount of people who are actually looking to be just lazy and not do anything about it, is not even comparable, really.
And the amount of economic understanding by the people running the place is mind-bogglingly appalling. If you have a look at the economic cycle, and you look at interest rates, whenever there's a problem, people always keep interest rates low, and they quantitatively ease. But if you have a real look at the economic cycle, things always get worse after that. And the few times that interest rates are actually kept up is when things get better.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the UK is not in a great state, but it's not as bad as some other countries. I mean, Greece has gone bankrupt.
Thanks to the EU.
Thanks to the EU. Spain is on the verge of bankruptcy.
Thanks to the EU.
25% unemployment.
Thanks to the EU again. EU again.
Yeah, EU. So the thing is, this little EU experiment has not really worked at all.
No, because it's been an ego trip for 2 or 3 major countries, and that's it.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, for all those, because you've ever seen one of those EU debates, the amount of people over there who are having to stay in their hotels. I mean, who's paying for all that?
Well, we do, and of course, don't forget there's also the scandal of the EU bureaucrats. What was it? It was something like $300 million euros a year because they didn't want to have all the meetings in one place. Do you remember that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they had to move once or twice a year. They moved from Brussels because people complained about having all their meetings.
Oh, really? What a hard thing. Going and getting paid to go to your office because you don't like it. You want a more nice scenic view, do you? Where do they go to?
Well, indeed, and you see that's the hypocrisy of it all, isn't it? It's individual ego trips.
So so in terms of,
or should I say, to be more accurate, vested interest.
Of course it is, and the thing is, everyone's got. I've got to say, when it comes down to it, all comes down. You know something? I was on the bus the other day. I was going to see the football to see a friend of mine, so I was going to have a couple of drinks, and I decided to catch the bus down, and a few stops later, there was a guy who came on the bus, and he was on crutches. Now he could have been taking the piss. I don't know, but he came on the bus with these crutches, and his car didn't work. And he basically pleaded with the bus driver. Now, I've seen bus drivers wave people on before now. I've seen bus drivers whose machine isn't working and wave people on. And he literally was making the guy get off the bus. And I ended up paying for his bus fare in the end. But the thing is, not one other person on that bus decided to do that. Now, I haven't got a problem doing that to actually help someone.
Sense of community.
Because that's a sense of community, it's a sense of compassion.
Correct.
So
good for you.
But the thing is, it doesn't mean if he kept doing that every single day of the week, I would start having a problem with that. Now, if it happened on a one-off, I don't have a problem. Actually, I was glad to do it. I mean, it was only £1.50. It was hardly gonna. But even if it was a tenner, I'd have probably done it. But the problem is that people just take too many things for granted, and once they start getting away with it, they'll carry on doing it. There's no incentive for some people to go out to work. I mean, it's one thing I'm very proud of my daughter. I mean, she works in Greenwich, which is 2 hours away. And actually, you know what? She's listening to the audiobook of Jordan Peterson at the moment. Mm-hmm. She goes, God, it's 16 hours long. So, but the thing is that's what she does to actually go to work, and she uses her dead time effectively.
So it's not just motivation to work. It starts off with a proper family structure, and that needs to be rebuilt, and that needs to be state-led. Proper family structure, because remember we talked about the Iowa experiment where they found that they weren't dying from heart disease because it was just Italian immigrants there.
Yeah.
And they had a strong family and social network, and that was mentally and physically good for them. And the more Americanized they became, the more unhealthy they became.
Well, that's when you get to a nuclear family. Anyway, guys, we're going to have to stop it there because our time has run out for today. So we'll look forward to speaking to you next week. And if you've got any comments, please let us know. Particularly that little dodgy comment from Theo about women not as many women going back to work. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.